My stepsister blackmailed me, threatening to make my life, but I recorded everything on camera. My stepsister tormented me at school, moved into our house, took over my room, and threw a party while my dad and stepmom were away. Now she's run off to her father's house, and my stepmother is blaming me for it. Hi, everyone. I have to get this off my chest about my nightmare of a stepsister who moved into our home several months ago and made my life completely unbearable. She thought she could get away with anything, but karma finally caught up with her. Here's some background. I am a 16-year-old girl and my dad's only child. My parents split when I was a little kid, and my dad has raised me on his own since then. He owns his own company and has properties across several states. He's a fantastic dad and always been great to me, but his work keeps him busy and he travels a lot, so we don't see each other often. When I was around 6, my parents divorced and my dad got custody of me. My mom passed away when I was 11, so for the past few years, my dad has been raising me alone. Although it hasn't been easy, we do our best to support each other. Before my mom passed away, I used to spend 1 week every month with her. Since her passing, my dad takes at least 1 week off work each month to spend time with me. And honestly, that's been the highlight of my month. I would look forward to this week all month, and we had the best times together. I thought our life was perfect, and never felt like I was missing out on having a mom. But things changed when my dad remarried last year to a woman named Lisa. Lisa is a pseudonym, but she's quite a bit younger than my dad. For context, my dad is 54, and Lisa is 37. They dated for about a year before getting married. I met Lisa before the wedding, but I never really liked her. If you ask me, she's a gold digger who only married my dad for his money. She was barely out of her divorce when she met my dad, and honestly, I don't see what my dad finds so wonderful about her. They met on a dating site about a year ago, and I disliked her from the very first day I met her, but I didn't tell my dad because I didn't want to hurt him. I know it must have been difficult for him to be alone after my mom passed, and although I don't understand it, Lisa actually seems to make him quite happy. Also, it's not like I expected my dad to stay single forever. I just wish it wasn't Lisa. Anyone but Lisa, really. Lisa has a daughter from her previous marriage named Emma, who is 17. After our parents got married, she started attending the same school as me. I don't know much about Emma's biological dad, but I know that Lisa absolutely despises the guy and doesn't like Emma seeing him. She does visit his house on some weekends, but I have overheard Lisa trying to convince Emma not to meet him several times. Emma doesn't visit her dad much anyway. My stepsister is the whole reason why I'm writing this post in the first place. Emma is spoiled, rude, selfish, and arrogant. She thinks she is superior to everyone else and looks down on me and my dad. She always complains about everything and never does any chores or homework. She spends all her time on her phone, shopping online, or watching movies. Lisa never says no to her for anything, and ever since she started living at our house, it's like she expects me and my dad to act the same way as her mom. She also has a habit of stealing my clothes, hiding and using up my makeup and jewelry, then lying about it. She sneaks in with her boyfriend when no one's home and has warned me against saying anything to my dad or her mom. None of my business, but that's not all she does. Actually, I wish that being bratty and sneaking in boys was the only thing she did, but she is so much worse than that. Lisa never tells her off for messing with my stuff and instead is obsessed with getting her everything she wants. It's almost like she is trying to please her for some reason. Anyway, when Lisa and Emma moved in, they brought a lot of stuff with them. Lisa obviously took over the master bedroom, which used to be my dad's, and filled it with her gaudy furniture, clothes, and accessories. She also convinced my dad to give my room to Emma since she would be moving out for college soon anyway, and I would only have to adjust for a few years. After that, I could have my room back. I hated this and tried to convince my dad to let me keep my room, but he said that Lisa had a point and that I should do my part in making my stepsister feel welcome. They also took over the guest room, which was the only other nice room. It is filled with Lisa's Pilates stuff, and I am not allowed to even enter it, let alone touch any of that stuff. Not that I care about that, but the guest room being occupied left me with the smallest room in the house, which barely has enough space for a bed and a desk. I had to move a lot of my stuff into the attic because there was simply no space for it in my new room. My dad apologized to me, but said that since Emma was older and all of this was new to her, she needed more space. To be fair, he did say that if I really had a problem with this, I could have the guest room, and they would rearrange all the stuff in there. But I could tell he was just trying to be nice. There was no way all that exercise equipment would fit into this tiny room anyway, so I didn't even bother. I did think of suggesting that we should put Emma in the tiny room and let me keep my room since she would only have to struggle for a few years, but I decided against it. I just wanted to make things easier for my dad. Despite all of this, I didn't mind the living situation that much. I'm used to spending a lot of time at school because of my extracurriculars. I didn't need a huge room to be happy. I had my books, my laptop, and my guitar. I also have a few amazing friends at school who were supportive and understanding. I started hanging out at their houses a lot after school, trying to avoid Emma as much as I possibly could. I focused more on my studies and hobbies. I wanted to get good grades so I could go to a good college and move out of this place as soon as possible. But Emma was not okay with leaving me alone. Once she transferred to my school, she started to terrorize me both at school and at home. She would spread rumors about me, call me names, mock me, and embarrass me in front of everyone. She would also sabotage my work and even steal from my school locker. Of course, when I told my dad about it, he said that I must be mistaken and that someone else must have taken my stuff. She did everything she could to make me miserable. Since she was a junior and I was only in middle school, it was nearly impossible for me to do anything against her at school. I just tried to avoid her at home, but even that wasn't easy because of how intrusive and annoying she is. She also tried to turn my dad against me. She was always manipulative around him. She didn't outright lie to him, but she used to subtly make it seem like I wasn't kind to her and tell him things like how she had always wanted a little sister and hoped that I would warm up to her. I tried to talk to my dad about all this, but he didn't believe me and said the same thing he always says, that Emma is still adjusting and has had a rough life, and that I should be patient. With her, she would act sweet and innocent, pretending to be the perfect daughter. She would butter him up and constantly ask for gifts and money. Just a few months after her mom married my dad, she turned 17, and Dad bought her an extremely expensive car as a birthday present. I didn't care about that stuff, but when my dad started spending most of his week at home with Emma and Lisa instead of me, it really started to bother me. Emma would be very mean, saying my dad would forget me once I went off to college and she would become his only daughter and I'd be forgotten. Honestly, I didn't pay much attention to these things and told myself that she was just immature and silly. I knew my dad would never forget me no matter how close he got to Emma. Last week was Lisa and my dad's anniversary, and they decided to take a weekend trip to my uncle's beach house. My dad wanted to return the same day and not stay overnight, but Lisa wanted to stay, and Emma convinced him that she would take care of the house and watch over me, promising him that nothing bad would happen. My dad had never left me alone overnight before, and I did not want Emma, of all people, to be there when he did. I didn't even like the sound of it. I knew that if none of the adults were home, she would do something crazy and make me part of it too. But I did not want to ruin my dad's day, so I told him he should go and that I was old enough to take care of myself. I promised him that if anything went wrong, I would call him immediately. It turns out I would need to keep that promise sooner than I expected, but that's for later. The moment they left, Emma turned to me and handed me some sheets of paper. I was really confused and asked her what it was. She told me she was throwing a party that night, and this was her rule book. I had to follow everything written on it for the next 2 days, or she would make my life at school even more miserable than it already was. I was kind of scared. I looked at the paper, and it was like the world's dumbest rule book. She had written stuff like, I had to lie to my dad when he called to check up. I had to clean up after the party. I had to make sure no one went into her room. I would have to let her friends use my room if they needed to, and I would have to give her part of my pocket money so she could buy stuff for the party. I was speechless. This was even crazier than usual. Who did she even think she was to create a rule book? It was ridiculous. This was the first time I actually snapped at her. I told her that I couldn't care less about her stupid rules and that I would tell Dad immediately if she threw a party. I told her that Dad hated these kinds of things and would never allow it. That was a mistake. Her whole tone changed, and she told me to watch my words before she did something that I would regret very much. I knew she was capable of making me miserable, so I agreed to follow her rule book, or at least pretended to. I'd been waiting for the perfect time to expose her, and now I literally had the chance to get proof against her. I could just keep the rule book and show Dad when he came back. I already started imagining how he would react if he found out the truth. I also thought that if she did throw a party, I would just take pictures and videos of it as proof. I knew that even though my dad was pretty laid back, a party was too much for him, and he would definitely be mad at Emma. I decided to play it cool with her and put on a whole act about how scared I was of her and told her I would do anything she wanted me to do. She looked so smug at that. I couldn't wait for the party to begin. As I mentioned before, I played along with Emma's ridiculous rule book, all the while secretly planning to expose her to my dad. The night of her party arrived, and I acted scared and compliant while discreetly documenting the chaos that ensued. I even helped her prepare for the party. The party itself was exactly what I imagined: people drinking beers, trashing the place, and I'm sure a few things were broken. The only thing I did was keep people away from my dad and Lisa's bedroom. I couldn't care less about Emma's rules, so I locked my room first and then locked myself in the master bedroom to prevent people from entering. But before that, I made sure to take pictures of everything: Emma being wild at the party with her friends. All the beer and other random things happening were all saved as proof. Emma's plan was to wake up early the next morning and make me clean up everything before my dad and Lisa came back from their trip. I woke up very early in the morning, around 600 a.m. I walked out and saw that the house was still in disarray, and people were passed out everywhere. I mustered up the courage to call my dad and explain everything. He didn't believe me at first, but it didn't take long for him to understand that I wasn't joking about this. He was as shocked and outraged as I hoped he would be when he arrived and saw the state of the house. The final cherry on top was Emma's little rule book, where she had basically declared me her slave. Lisa also looked mortified, and it was incredibly satisfying. Finally, after all the trouble the two of them put me through, I had something to really show my dad. My dad wasted no time in dealing with Emma's behavior. He revoked her shopping privileges, confiscated her phone, and said that she would have to give my room back and move into the smaller room. It was clear that he was not going to tolerate her antics any longer. He also got very angry at her for the rule book and asked her if all the things I said about her being mean to me were true all along. She tried to deny it, but he wouldn't hear a word of it. He told her that she could forget about ever being trusted by him again and that she could say goodbye to her car because he would sell it and put the money in my college fund. Emma was furious. She had been all weepy and apologetic, but when my dad said he would take away her car, she completely lost it. She started screaming about how he was being unfair and called me a scrawny little rat who would never go anywhere. I wasn't even hurt, honestly. I nearly laughed at her tantrum. This was the perfect outcome, and nothing she could do or say could ever take away from the fact that her perfect daughter act had been ruined forever. My dad got really mad at Emma and told her to apologize to me for saying that, and she obviously refused. She stormed out of the room saying she hated me and my dad and couldn't wait to go back to her real dad. I was shocked. I took one look at Lisa's face and knew that she was scared that Emma would actually leave and go to her dad. However, things took a turn for the worse when Lisa also got involved. She had been quiet until now and didn't interrupt my dad once except to tell Emma that she was disappointed in her. But after Emma stormed off, she defended Emma and accused my dad of being too harsh on her. She said that there was no need to take away her car and they could just keep her grounded for a few weeks and not turn her whole life upside down. My dad asked me to go to my room and give them some space to talk, so I don't really know what happened next. Even from my room, I could hear their argument escalating into a heated exchange, with both of them getting pretty loud. At that point, I started feeling guilty about what I did. Maybe I took things too far. I just wanted to teach Emma a lesson, but now things in the house are just bad, and I don't know what to do. My dad did come and talk to me in the evening, though, and told me he was glad that I helped him see the truth and apologized for not believing me earlier. He said that I would always be his first priority, and he was just trying to make Emma comfortable in a new environment, and it was never his intention to make me feel less important than her. Tonight at dinner, no one was talking, and things were just awkward and tense. Lisa tried to talk to Emma, but she stormed off again, saying she never should have come to this house. It was never my intention to cause a fight between Lisa and my dad, and I can't help but feel like I've messed things up for him. I feel like an idiot for going behind Emma's back and exposing her real behavior to my dad. Update 1. Thanks to everyone who supported me and said that I didn't do anything wrong. Although my dad said the same thing, I couldn't help but feel like he was just trying not to hurt my feelings, and so hearing other people agree with me feels great. A lot of you wanted to know how things are going in the house now. Well, Emma is still refusing to apologize to me. Actually, she doesn't even acknowledge me and kind of pretends that I am invisible. I don't care, though it works for me. My dad warned her that if she tried to bother me at school, there would be more trouble for her, so I'm having a good time at school as well. Also, my dad was serious about everything he said. He only gives Emma her phone when she goes to school and takes it away the moment she is back. She is not allowed to go out. And yes, I got my room back. It actually feels better than I expected it would be. My dad did tell Emma that she would get her phone privileges back if she apologized to me, but she refused to do that. So, well, not my problem. And about her Kareven, I thought that my dad was just trying to scare her by saying he would sell it, but it turns out he was completely serious. I think he has even found a buyer already. This is the biggest reason for fights in the house currently. Emma has thrown many tantrums about it, and Lisa and Dad also keep fighting about it regularly. I wish Emma would just apologize, even if she doesn't mean it, just to put an end to all this. I know my dad, and I know he would forgive her if she apologized and didn't do anything similar in the future. But if she wants to be stubborn, there is nothing I can do about it. Lisa has also been colder than usual with me. She hasn't really said or done anything directly, but it's like I can just feel her looking at me with absolute hatred whenever I am around. Even though I don't think I did something wrong anymore, I'm beginning to almost regret what I did because of how complicated things have become. Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I hope Emma apologizes and everything just settles down. Update 2. So things did not settle down. It has been 3 days since my last update, and a lot has happened since then. If any of you remember, I mentioned in my original post that Emma had said she wished she never moved into our house. Well, I guess she was serious about that. So the day after I wrote my last update, Emma and I went to school as usual. Lisa was not at home, so we couldn't ask her and just decided to go back and check. She wasn't there when we went home either, and Dad started getting worried. My dad was actually worried. He called Lisa to ask if Emma had mentioned going out to the mall or something, but she hadn't. Lisa said she would call Emma's friends and ask if she was with anyone. After about half an hour of calling around and not finding her, I was also getting worried and thought maybe I should tell them about her boyfriend. My intention wasn't to snitch on her, but both my dad and Lisa were getting really anxious, and I thought that maybe she was with her boyfriend, so we had no reason to worry. I told them, and Lisa asked me if I knew who the guy was. I did because he's a senior at my school. I didn't have his number because I don't actually know him, but I asked around and got it. I called him and asked if Emma was with him, and he said she wasn't. Lisa took the phone from me and asked him if he knew where she was, and he said no. Lisa asked him again and begged him to tell the truth because they were really worried. After hesitating a bit, he told them that she had gone to her dad's house. Lisa just lost her mind. She started screaming at my dad, saying that he had driven away her little girl and that she had never done anything like this before. My dad said that Lisa was overreacting and that if Emma was with her dad, it was fine because she was safe and they had nothing to worry about. Just to be sure, Lisa called Emma's dad and asked if Emma was with him, and he said that she came over after school and had told him that she would be staying there for a while. Lisa got really angry and asked to speak to Emma because she hadn't been picking up any of our calls. He said that she didn't want to talk to anyone right now. Lisa got into a fight over the call, saying that he couldn't just keep her with him like that, and he told her that his daughter could stay wherever she wanted to, and that she shouldn't have driven her away if she cared so much about her being there. Lisa was furious, and after hanging up the call, she started fighting with my dad again. Dad sent me to my room again, but I kind of eavesdropped and listened in on their fight. I have never heard Lisa be so angry. She was screaming, saying that my dad had ruined everything and that now her ex finally had control over their daughter. My dad said she was overthinking this and that they should just go over to his place and talk to Emma and everything would be fine. Lisa seemed to calm down at that. But then she said that if I wasn't such a jealous brat, none of this would have happened in the first place. I was kind of hurt by that, but my dad was absolutely furious. I don't think I've ever heard him be so angry. He told Lisa that she was delusional if she thought all of this was anyone's fault except Emma's. They fought more. and Dad said that he never should have let Emma get comfortable enough to feel entitled and that she was a bully. At that point, I had enough and went back to my room. All the yelling really got to me. After some time, my dad came to my room and said that he was driving Lisa to Emma's dad's place and gave me some money to order dinner. They ended up leaving sometime later, and I was just hoping that when they returned, Emma would be with them. They returned in a couple of hours, but Emma wasn't with them. I asked Dad why she didn't come back, and he said that Emma had told him and Lisa that she would be living with her dad now and didn't want to come back to our house and live with us again. Lisa snapped at me and told me all of this was my fault and that I should apologize to Emma. This just led to another fight between her and my dad, and I was sent to my room again. That was 3 days ago, and Emma hasn't returned. Lisa calls her every day, and even my dad apologized to her and asked her to come back, but she still refuses. Lisa keeps saying that I must apologize to Emma because that's the only way she will come back. But my dad has made it clear that I will not do that. I am really confused and wondering if I should just apologize anyway. I don't care so much in the first place, and if apologizing can fix this mess, then maybe I should do it. I told Dad that I didn't mind, but he insisted that I should not do it. I think I'll just listen to him and not do anything on my own. To be honest, I can't help but feel a little glad that Emma isn't here anymore. If it wasn't causing so much fighting between Lisa and my dad, I would wish she never came back. I mean, I'm sure she is having a nice time with her dad, and if she isn't, she could just come back whenever she wants to. Update 3. It has been a month since my last update, and I have some big news to share with you all. Emma is still living with her dad. Thanks to Lisa calling her every day, she agreed to come back, but she said she would only do it if I apologized. She got her room back, and my dad bought her a new car. I should let you know that my dad hasn't actually sold Emma's car. He did find a buyer, but when Emma ran away, he changed his mind, and we still have it. Emma knows this and is still asking for a new car. My dad absolutely refused to do that and said that she couldn't just make mistakes, throw tantrums, and expect everything to be fine. Lisa was just desperate to do whatever it took to get her daughter back and tried to convince my dad, which only led to more arguments. It has been weeks of this back and forth, and a few hours ago, my dad came into my room and said that we needed to talk. I actually thought he would tell me that he was going to agree to Emma's demands and wanted me to apologize. But he actually told me that he and Lisa have decided to separate. He told me that this was for the best, and I didn't have to worry about it, and that he was fine. I was surprised, but it would be a lie to say I didn't see this coming. I mean, it's hardly possible to stay with someone if you fight so much. So yeah, Lisa and Emma will be gone from my life permanently now. I wonder if I would do things the same way if I knew how bad the situation would get, but it is what it is now, I guess.